Hi guys, this is Sam and Joe here from Teespring.
How's it going?
From Teespring Labs. Ready to do the Pinterest ads demo for you guys. We're really excited to show you the ins and outs of selling on Teespring with Pinterest ads. In Teespring Labs, a lot of what we do is trying to research new ways to sell on Teespring, particularly from the marketing side, whether it's different, more advanced targeting or different networks. We have just a lot of networks, and outside of Facebook, Pinterest ads are by far the most exciting channel we've seen in a long time. So we're really excited to show you guys more. We've spent over $20,000 testing Pinterest ads, have a lot of insights to share with you guys, and we really think you can actually build a business selling Teespring products on Pinterest ads. So we're excited to dive in and we can get started.
All right, great. So we're going to kick this webinar off by just telling you guys why we think people use Pinterest, why we see kind of the benefits of using Pinterest over other ad networks. So people tend to use Pinterest to plan and discover. They go to Pinterest to plan for their future. So users tend to engage with high-quality items or images and finding items that they want to own. So things that they want to have or aspire to have in the future. And Pinterest really gives them the opportunity to build those visual boards so they can visually see the items that they want to attain.
Can you guys hear us now? Okay, sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties. These webinars always, it's always something. But yeah, we were just talking. To get back to where we were talking about kind of the benefits of Pinterest ads, and the one thing that's really exciting just is that it kind of reminds us of Facebook ads about a year and a half ago, or AdWords like 10 years ago, where there's all these areas you can be bidding on that are totally open, low competition, and if you're the first one to get there, you can kind of own it and get really cheap clicks. We'll get into, again, we'll have to, organic is so, or the organic kind of free stuff you get after from the promoted pin, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is so big, and being the first one to get a lot of the cheap repins in the beginning is going to be an advantage, we think, for months, if not years to come.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, content on Pinterest in itself just tends to last so much longer than any other social network at the time. And Pinterest especially, they're the biggest social network outside of Facebook for driving e-commerce conversions across the web. So that's just really good news. It coincides extremely well with our initiatives selling on Teespring.
Cool. So we wanted to give you a little breakdown of the demographics of Pinterest. And one thing you'll see is that it's very female dominant. And if you're a seller on Teespring, you'll know that women who are over 30 years old are the highest converting demographic, and that's what makes up Pinterest. So you're basically targeting the most likely to purchase demographics out there, which is a marketer's heaven.
And we found it interesting. In the stats that we found, moms are actually 3 times more likely to share compared to the average user. So wanted to highlight that because it also fits really well with the Teespring target demographics. So now we're going to get into a little bit of the organic pins lifespan, like Sam had mentioned earlier. We have these 2 graphs here that we pulled from Google Analytics. The first one is showing a tweet from a large account and its lifespan, and then the bottom 2 are showing 2 posts or 2 pins on Pinterest and their lifespan. And as you can see from Twitter, that lasted a couple days. It got a ton of hits, but the 2 from Pinterest, I mean, they lasted for weeks and months on end.
Yeah, so exactly. The Twitter one, it goes up to a couple, tens of thousands of clicks within a few days, and then 2 weeks later it's down to 0. These ones on Pinterest, they're still going today for months because you just keep getting just kind of persistent repinning, and it just kind of goes viral for a long time. You're not seeing crazy spikes like you would on something from Twitter or Facebook. It's kind of a more low and slow thing. But you're just kind of constantly getting it, and it's just going. And these are organic. These were not even paid. So you can kind of create this artificially if you get lots of repins going by paying for the initial promoted pin. Okay, so yeah, I think a lot of you guys market on Facebook, so we just kind of wanted to do a little bit of comparison because I think a lot of people when they go to new ad networks, they think just to copy what they've been doing before, and assume that works for the new network. But what we found is it's very different from Facebook. The type of users that are on there, the type of designs they're looking for, the type of garments they want to buy, it's all different. So you can't. It's not as easy as just taking your best-selling campaigns on Facebook, although that can work. But it's much more, I think, about starting kind of from zero and kind of like going on Facebook, like just start on Pinterest, kind of and work backwards to figure out like what they would want, and then make what they would want on Teespring.
Exactly, and Pinterest has a totally different strategy in itself because Pinterest users, they demand really high quality T-shirt design. They want something that looks like it could be possibly bought in a store from a brand, something that's extremely professional and fashion forward. They don't want things that are very overloaded with all the bells and the whistles. They also really prefer premium garment brands like Bella and American Apparel. Through our testing, we found, Hanes is definitely not the favorite of Pinterest users. And again, that's kind of sticking with the fashion forward. And they especially love trendy items like the Bella Flowy tank. Those are just killing it right now.
Yeah, we think the Bella Flowy tank is probably the best item to be marketing on Pinterest. It seems to convert really well, and users are willing to pay a little more for it. So yeah.
So now we're going to take some time to kind of go through, our setup with Pinterest, so you guys can see, how we set things up and make sure that there's no, questions around that. So we're going to start with, the profile basics. We're going to move on to pins, and then we're going to get into more of the promoted pin section. So starting with your profile, it's really important that your profile takes the appearance of like a brand, a company that's up and coming instead of a person. You definitely want to give your profile a good bio and explain that you sell custom tees, tanks, etc. And that's important because your profile is also searchable. So the more keywords that you can use to describe, what you're doing, the better. And you also want to add a Teespring store URL to your profile and make sure that you have a similar looking storefront on Teespring. Use the same branding, the same color scheme, etc. and put a bunch of designs in that storefront.
And we know a lot of sellers will have on Facebook different pages for each of their niches. Okay, we'll talk about that actually in a second. Here. Yeah, so just following what I was saying is you'll want to have, I think, one kind of more generic brand for all of your niches. You can't, Pinterest is not whitelisting everybody, so you can't create lots of accounts. And you just want to consolidate it. So I would recommend making sure your brand isn't specific to one niche, unless that's only the niche you think you're going to be selling in.
Exactly, and with that, you definitely want to create multiple boards, and your boards are where you're going to be able to put your different niches. So you can have your overarching account on Pinterest that is like your brand, and then you can have boards for the different niches that you're going in, say, fitness or knitting or animal tees, and those can all be different boards. And boards are also really important on Pinterest because it gives your profile some sort of like the little build-up. It makes it look a lot more legitimate in the eyes of Pinterest users. And having multiple boards will make you look like somebody who actually engages and participates in the Pinterest community and not just someone who's there to sell items, as Pinterest users are kind of turned off by that. But it's also important that when you build your boards, you take the same approach that you did with your profile's bio with your board and give that a really good description as well, because that's also searchable. So now we're going to move on to some pins here. Pins are definitely very important on Pinterest, and that's due to what Sam had explained earlier with the longevity of the pin's lifespan. You want your pin to be highly repinnable, so something that is simple and elegant is going to be more likely to be pinned on somebody's board than something that's overloaded with a red border or limited edition badges. We found that that does work on Facebook, but since Pinterest users are planning for their future, they want something that's very clean and represents what they want in the future instead of something that's look at me now, click me now.
Yeah, you want to catch their attention definitely like you would on the Facebook ad, but it is more important. It's really important to make sure you're thinking about, well, is this something somebody would repin? Because again, getting people to repin your pin is where a lot of your sales is going to be coming from. It's even more important than, for example, a Facebook share.
Exactly, and we've also found that tall aspect ratios tend to perform best on Pinterest. So we included a sample size. I mean, I wouldn't go any lower than that, but you can also make it much longer than that. It just kind of helps you take up more real estate in the pins SERP, or the search engine results page for Pinterest. And why we say to give everything a good description, this right here is a perfect example. To the right, you see in Google, if you Google Bella Flowy Pinterest, you come up with a pin that we actually made that was repinned. And because it says Bella Flowy in it, and it's on Pinterest, it's now showing up as the #1 result in Google, which is pretty cool.
Pinterest has good SEO naturally.
Great SEO, yeah, and that's why it's so important to create compelling ad copy or a pin description when you're pinning your pin. Furthermore, we definitely encourage you to use a short description of your design, the main garment type, and a catchy call to action. Something telling users that if you click the image, you're going to be able to purchase. And again, you can see that in the Google search engines result page, how we have a brief description, and then the garment, and then the call to action. And then lastly, it's really important for you to set your source URL to your Teespring campaign in order to take advantage of rich pins, and be sure to append your variables or UTMs to your URL, such as organic or non-paid, etc., in order to track these non-paid purchases that will happen later on.
Okay, so yeah, we'll show you more detail kind of setting URL variables. But the main thing is, better not to use a redirect, because if you use a redirect, it might not convert to a rich pin, and then it won't show the price.
Exactly. So right now we're actually going to take a minute to hop into Pinterest's UI and just show you really fast, what it's like to have a short, compelling description for your pin, and then setting the source URL. We've already deployed the Teespring campaign, and we've already made the ad asset and pinned the pin. So this is just going to be very brief. Pardon that. So here we are in one of our boards currently. This is a tops and tanks board, and as you can see, here's a description for the board showing funny T-shirts, workout tank tops. It's very keyword insertive. So here's the pin that we're going to be using today. So we're going to click on the edit. Demo is definitely not a good description, so don't do that. But we've pre-typed this description out, and we think that this is something that will resonate really well. Life is short, knit fast. It's a brief description of what the tank top is about, and then it says women's tank top and fitted tee, because we have those two options available. Bella Flowy available, trying to grab people's attention there, and then click image to purchase. And there it is, a little bit bigger for you guys. We've already gotten the URL as well. We tend to use UTMs, but you can also use, just normal parameters. And as you can see here,
UTMs are just basically a URL parameter that Google Analytics ingests and kind of will split it up. But I know a lot of sellers out there also like to create their own URL variables. You should question mark some text equals other text, and it'll show up in analytics.teespring. So you can use that as well. But it is good to, when you have the main URL, your base URL here, teespring.com/knitfast, and then question mark, and then you could basically just add different URL parameters.
Exactly, and the most important thing about this is just this is marked organic. You can mark it organic, non-paid, whatever you want to mark it as, just so you know that this is a non-paid ad. Because when you go ahead and deploy your ad, it's we'll get into that in a second, but it'll be a way to delineate your non-paid and paid purchases. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And now that we have a URL, we'll refresh the page. Then we'll click into the pin, and you can see that Rich Pins will have been activated. And how do you know that Rich Pins is activated? Well, the price right here.
And the Teespring logo.
And the Teespring logo. So now that we have Rich Pins activated, our source URL marked as organic, we're going to move on to the promotion section. Hopping back into here, promoted pins. Pinterest uses a PPC or search query based model. It's very similar to Google. You will only pay for your clicks to your destination URL. And this is what we find absolutely awesome, because you don't pay for repins, comments, likes, or follows to your account.
Or even just straight up impressions. Like
or even impressions.
If you have a pin going, you get 3,000 impressions and no clicks, they won't charge you anything.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's only when a user clicks the pin, then clicks the image, and lands on your Teespring campaign page. So that's really good in keeping costs down. And you bid on keywords just like Google that people would be searching for on Pinterest. So there's a search box towards the top, say fitness tanks for women. If you're in the fitness niche, that might be something that you're going to bid on. And then if you're bidding on that, your pin will be showed as a promoted pin to people who are searching that. And we found two strategies, and again, very similar to AdWords when it comes to selecting your keywords. What you're going to be bidding on, and you can go broad or tight. And we've experimented with both. Broad is simply selecting a very wide range of keywords, including descriptive keywords, etc., to cast the largest net possible and bank on maximum repins. That includes, fitness T-shirts, etc., things that are just a little bit more vague and not to the point. Tight, however, is when you select a narrow range of keywords that only relate to your design topic. And this really helps you save costs while gaining a high CTR. And when you gain a high CTR, you will experience lower CPCs. So again, that's two different strategies. Broad is to bank more on the long-term strategy, get all the repins you can, and kind of float campaigns in weeks to come. And tight is really just to have performance metrics and control your costs.
Yeah, you're not going to get as much volume with tight targeting, but it probably will be more efficient, efficient-wise.
Cool. So when we originally talked to Pinterest, they recommended us starting with a $1.20 max CPC bid. And we thought that was a lot, so we kind of tried, to optimize down from there. And, we've actually seen success as low as 50 cents. But what we would recommend is that you start a little higher to get that engagement initially, and then optimize down from there. As your campaign is running, you can adjust your max bid. So you can always lower it if you're getting good performance.
And one thing to note is, let's say you set your bid at 80 cents. In reality, your cost per click is going to be a lot lower than that probably. But even if it is, when you count in all the organic clicks you get, they have this new metric they actually just started putting in the dashboard because it is so important, called effective CPC. It's like what you're actually paying. So you might have paid 80 cents a click for all the original paid clicks, but with all your the organic lift, you're actually would only be paying 40 cents because about half your clicks are going to come from organic repins. So don't be intimidated by bidding a little bit high. It's not going to spend that much of your budget. It's not like Facebook. They'll only spend it if the impressions are there. And it's just not what you're paying for is actually not your effective cost per click. It's really just kind of your paid cost per click. If that makes sense.
So now we're going to just hop back into the Pinterest UI. This is going to be the ads.pinterest.com UI instead of just the normal Pinterest.com UI. And we're just going to kind of recap everything that we've went over just so you can kind of visually see what we're talking about. So now we're in ads, and you get started by promoting your campaign by clicking that promote button in the top right. Now here's our shirt. Don't mind this. It's just stuff that we were pinning to make our boards look a little bit more genuine and unique. So your your pin will only show up if you have a destination, or I'm sorry, a source URL attributed to that pin, as we do. So it allows us to get into here. So we already came up with some terms or some keywords that we're going to bid on. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste those in here. This is probably a little bit more. There's a hybrid of the tight and the broad. As you can see, it's estimated that we'll get 97,000 weekly impressions, which might seem like a lot, but if you go extremely broad, I mean, you can see numbers up to 300,000+ weekly impressions, and tight, you can see numbers, 10, 20,000.
And you need a lot of impressions because the click-through rates are pretty low. They're usually They're definitely less than 1%, and they're more towards what, like on the high end is like 0.3% click-through rate.
Yeah, that 0.3%,
It's
and
super
this is
high.
actually from Pinterest. They deem that as a very, very high click-through rate.
So the click-through rates are probably gonna be like about, yeah, like maybe 20 times less than Facebook. So you definitely need a lot more impressions.
But again, don't worry. Pinterest is not going to like blow thousands of dollars in a day. There's times where we've had very large estimates of weekly impressions, and we've only spent $30 a day. So here we have the destination URL, and this is very important. This is like the most important part about promoting your pin. We pasted the exact same URL as we used for the source URL, but now we're going to change this variable, or UTM, whatever you prefer to use, from organic to paid. Just so you know that anything coming from this is now being driven from your paid ad campaign instead of any organic lift. And you'll create your campaign here. Say knitting. This is a 7-day shirt, so you can run it for 7 days, although I'm sure you will probably get in there and let it run for longer if you'd like.
Yeah, we typically, you're gonna want, I think your campaigns are gonna be a lot longer than Facebook, because if you think about it, on Facebook, for example, you have an audience you're targeting, and once they've all seen it, you don't really want to have a high frequency of them seeing it again. But because these are showed up in the search results, you're getting kind of different people each time. So I think once you find like a really winning targeting, we found you can run ads for months on end, and you're not going to be getting crazy amount of sales every day, but they'll kind of slowly drip in every day. We've had campaigns relaunch 5 times, and they tip each time, and they're like 2-week campaigns, so it's basically running for months. And so that's something we found that's interesting. It's a different mindset than Facebook. It's a lot more about kind of having lots of things on low and slow.
Exactly. Take the low and slow method, absolutely. And this slide right here just kind of recaps what we went over. Absolutely be sure to change your destination URL. It's just the most important thing. You want to have some sort of delineation between your paid and organic, and we just cannot stress that enough. And we're going to show you a great example of why that's so important here coming up towards the end of the webinar, but just remember that for now. Now we're going to go through some Pinterest tips, some do-nots, things that you want to try to avoid when you're pinning your original pin in order to avoid things like disapprovals.
Yeah, Pinterest, they're pretty strict on your promoted pins kind of conforming to all their policies. So if you get your pins taken down, don't be discouraged. We've had that too, and you just kind of have to learn what they're okay with and what they're not. But yeah, some of the things we have here is like, don't put the price in your pin description. The reason they say that is because they think if, let's say you were to change the price later, it might not update. So because they really want you to use rich pins. So I mean, your price is going to be there from the rich pin anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah, don't create things that looks a little spammy. They don't like, or just in general, it's not good practice to have too many banners, too many flashing things. It's going to perform worse anyway on Pinterest if you have it too much flair on there. So discourage that, and yeah, keep the designs a little bit more on the minimal side. You don't need quite as many fonts. You don't need multiple fonts, or you want a high quality design, but I wouldn't necessarily, more is not necessarily better on Pinterest. Yeah, the other things too is in your description you wouldn't want to do a call to action, something like click to purchase or get yours. Pretty standard. And
just create a really clean, minimalistic pin to promote. It's kind of what Sam was saying. More necessarily isn't more on Pinterest, so just keep it looking like it came from a brand or a designer of sorts, because that's going to cater a lot to Pinterest's demographics, and that's something that you want to do, is cater to the users who are currently on Pinterest. And then lastly, remove your keywords from your keyword list when you are promoting your pin if they're performing poorly in your campaign. So once you have your campaign, we'll hop back in the UI here. You'll be able to click in, and you'll be able to see your keywords and how they're doing. once it's approved. Sorry, maybe I was a little overzealous there. But you'll be able to see your keywords and how they're performing. And if you have something that's performing absolutely poorly, just go ahead and pause it out. You can remove it from the list.
If you ever use AdWords, it's a similar idea. I think at the beginning you want to test a lot of keywords, and then you kind of find the ones that are working. You can't tell what keywords the conversion's coming from, but you can see the kind of click-through rates and cost per clicks. So once you find your kind of winning keywords, you can kind of refine your list and just sit on those keywords and get good cheap clicks.
Absolutely. So Sam and I put this list together for you guys of some example niches that we've seen on Pinterest, things that we saw performing well, things that we kind of wanted to give to you guys. So maybe it's a starting point to get the juices flowing, or maybe it's a direction that you can move in for your first campaigns. And overall, things that performed really well were hobbies and interests, as well as some job stuff and some holiday stuff. So hobbies, being crafting, yoga, fitness. Interest being wine, coffee, animals, elephants. Job things like bartending, waitress, etc. Sports, golf, tennis, anything to do with parenting, etc.
I think people are asking kind of what a good daily budget is.
That really all just depends on you and the niche that you're picking and the keywords that you're bidding on. Again, Pinterest isn't going to go crazy with your spend like Facebook or AdWords or Google AdWords will do. So you can really keep a close eye on it, even if you have your budget set wide open. Although we don't necessarily recommend that. Just as an example, if it was wide open, you can keep a close eye on it, kind of understand, what you're spending and when.
I would recommend like any ad platform. You start with your budget low and you kind of scale up as you're having success. Maybe start with something like $10, $20. Won't necessarily even spend it. One thing to look out for too is Pinterest ads, like results. They often take up 24 hours for it to come in, so there is kind of a lag, which can be frustrating. I know it's something they're working on to kind of give you quicker results on your ad metrics, but at least you can see, on Teespring Analytics, if you're getting clicks coming through from Pinterest, you can see if there's purchases. So you still have some data, but you want to still know how much it's spending.
Yeah, that's something that they're aware of and that they're working to fix, is the latency in the data that they're giving back to us. But just keep an eye out, and like Sam said, start small. I wouldn't do anything over $100, and that might sound a lot, but I mean, they're probably not going to spend that to begin with. So now we're going to move into an inspiration gallery that we put together. We went through Pinterest and we just did some basic searches, kind of based on the overarching categories that we just showed you and the example niches. And we found some designs and garments that had good social engagement and things that we just thought resonated really well with Pinterest's audience. So we're just going to kind of slowly flip through that, give you time to enough time to look at it, and then we're going to hop right back into it with the closing section of the webinar. And so this actually is probably one of the most unique ads that we've ever seen. The one on the left and one in the middle, the advertiser decided to use a Bella Flowy tank, or a tank top of sorts, and put their design on it, but also coupled it with other items. This is very Pinterest. This is probably the absolute most advanced ad that you guys would be making. As you can see, there's a whole outfit that goes with it. To the right, another advertiser, they put a ton of their different designs and they drove it to a storefront. The one on the right's a little busy. I prefer the one on the left and the one on the middle, just because Pinterest users who are planning for their future, who are planning, in fitness, that's highly repinnable. I mean, you have the shoes that match the shirt, you have the shoes and the shirt that match the accessories, and etc. That's just something that's going to be highly pinnable.
Yeah, it's like creating good content.
Extremely, yeah. And then from there, here's just some more basic. Now this is, I don't mean basic, but this is more of like your run-of-the-mill ads that you're going to see. Something that's just, a minimalistic approach, a white background or an off-white background, just displaying the front design on the tee.
You can see, it's really easy for users to see the message with big text like this, but there is enough, kind of flares to make to make it seem like the design quality is a little higher. It wasn't just kind of created quickly to a professional. Looks like a professional designer. Again, more inspiration, and
The person on the right decided to use kind of a textured background, and we've seen success with these as well. It just kind of gives a little bit more, flair in that sense without being overloaded. There'll be a couple more textured backgrounds, like the middle one here and the one to the right, both have textured backgrounds, and both were, performing pretty well.
Yeah, and then some other and funny things also. Humor works really well, especially for repinning.
Yeah, humor gets a lot of repins.
Simple graphics. You see the one on the far left has really good use. Not too many colors in there, but still has a lot of detail. Very cutesy. Again, very feminine is very important, given the user base on Pinterest. Again, it's kind of more of the same. They're just all just different. You can just kind of apply similar things to these to a bunch of different niches.
And then this is a little different. Again with the left, they kind of put together an outfit which is great for being repinned. Just Pinterest users really resonate with that. The one on the right, that's just minimalistic. Again, very, you can just see the design. It's very upfront. And then the one in the middle, I'd also say is pretty advanced. It's somebody actually wearing what your shirt would look like. You can get these mocks online if you do some searches for them. But we've had mixed success with them. However, they do get good engagement as well. So we thought we'd highlight that just so we have that there as an example. And then back to some others. These are just basic white backgrounds. You see the one on the left and one on the right have a little bit of a glow to it. Just kind of makes the shirt pop a little bit. These are food related. Here's some funny ones. As Sam said, humor works very well. Again with a mock on a human.
Yeah, you can see, going back, like people were actually searching a lot for guacamole. You would never think of that on Facebook ads, but especially during Super Bowl time, people are looking kind of for inspiration for like their guacamole recipes, but instead they'll kind of be they'll be looking for recipe, but they actually end up seeing a really funny shirt and they'll they'll repin it right there. So I think you can be creative.
Exactly. And there's a lot of guacamole is like a perfect example where you could go broad strategy or tight strategy. I mean, broad, you can be bidding on guacamole recipes, guacamole dishes, etc., or you can just keep it tight. And here's some more. I mean, the one on the left has a wood background, which is interesting, kind of like our OG image. The one in the middle is just with the white background, the shirt just pops out at you. It's very minimalistic, very clean, and highly repinnable. These were some sports tanks that we had found. They're softball related. Then on to some bride, bachelorette stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people are searching for their wedding planning. They go on Pinterest to kind of find ideas. So I think bridesmaids is actually a great niche, because a lot of they might order like a set for all the bridesmaids.
Exactly, and that's what you see right here with the two on the right. That's actually one pin, both of those shirts. And I'm not sure why the advertiser did them two side by side instead of one on top of each other. But you can create a bridesmaid T-shirt or tank and a bride's T-shirt or tank, and then you can link both of them in your Teespring campaign, like so many of you do already with your Facebook campaigns. It's kind of two birds with one stone. All right, so that was kind of it for the inspiration, and now we're going to just hop into conversion tracking real quick because I'm sure this is on a lot of your guys' minds. It's a very important part in advertising and performance marketing. However, since Pinterest is a new platform and they are still developing everything, they currently don't have a visualization for tracking conversions, which can be frustrating, I know, but that's why we recommend that you either use analytics.teespring.com or Google Analytics to monitor the variables that you appended to your pins and promoted pins in order to kind of track the performance from there. And something that Pinterest does that we had found, and it took us a while to dig around and figure out exactly what it is, but you'll see the variables pp equals 1 and pp equals 0. being passed through when your design is selling, and those simply are Pinterest's way of marking your campaign as converting from non-paid or paid.
Yeah, so PP equals 1 is from an organic click that you didn't pay for, and PP equals 0 is a paid click. We'll show what that looks like in analytics.teespring from screenshot. So here we are. And you can see, if you look down, there's the PP equals 0, PP equals 1. PP equals 0, so we're all the paid purchases, and PP equals 1, we're all the non-paid. The conversion rate was actually higher on the non-paid.
But there's going to always be a small difference between the PP parameters and either your UTMs or whatever variables you append on. And
we're not sure why. We think it might be getting, because from certain mobile apps or something, the Pinterest's own URL parameters are getting stripped somewhere. So they're not gonna capture every sale you get from Pinterest, probably closer to like 70%.
But we just wanted to give you a heads up because it's definitely something that you're gonna see in your analytics that is very foreign, something that you haven't seen before. So just kind of making you guys aware of this is what it is and this is what it means is the goal of this. But that's also why we emphasize so heavily that you either append your own variables or your own UTMs. As you can see, this advertiser used CPC and organic as their variables because that's going to be the source of truth, whether you're using analytics.teespring.com or Google Analytics. Your variables, your UTMs are going to be the source of truth.
Yeah, so if you look, the organic one here will match up with the PP equals 1, and you see the organic was a little bit, showed a little bit more, and same with the 0 and CPC. The CPC showed up a little bit more, but these are essentially trying to track the same thing here.
And that's all that we have for you today. So we just want to.
I think we're going to open it up to questions now. You guys can use the chat box. I think there's also a Q&A section here in the webinars on air. So if you just want to ask us some questions, we can we'll get to them. Let's see. Someone asked, can you explain destination URL? Don't know anything about the end URL code. Not sure exactly what you mean. The destination URL is the URL basically you want to put on. So for each pin, pins don't necessarily need to have a link going out to them, but the destination URL is like where that pin links out to. So you're going to want to just do the Teespring URL of the campaign you're promoting, and if you want to be tracking some type of URL parameter, so question mark, organic equals organic, or question mark, UTM medium is organic.
Yeah, so I think what you mean is the URL, the encodes that's how you would track through Google Analytics or analytics.teespring.com. And the destination URL is Pinterest's verbiage. They define the source URL as the URL that's associated with the organic pin, and destination URL as the URL that's associated with the promoted pin. So that is definitely an important delineation between the two. So when destination URL is referred to your promoted pin. However, like Sam said, it is a URL that actually goes to your Teespring campaign.
If someone asks, can you send out the link variable list or examples so we know how to structure them? Yeah, we can put that in the chat box, I guess, here.
Yeah, we can do that. It's also, if you go search for Google UTMs, there's a link that allows you to build it on your own. You can just copy and paste, but we'll hook you guys up with that.
Let's see. Most units sold in any Pinterest ads campaign. I saw one, I think, with multiple relaunches sold like 430 shirts, and it was not through one campaign. It would sell about, I think, like 50 each time. So you're not seeing crazy like Facebook like selling thousands, but we found a lot of campaigns you can kind of relaunch them a lot of times, and we've had some that I think will keep selling for months to come, just given all the organic lift.
So somebody else asks, can we get the whole webinar as a recorded video? Yeah, absolutely. We'll be sending that out later on.
Another thing too is we'll be posting a link again in the chat for if you don't have access to Pinterest ads, we have a list. And what we've been doing is you as a seller create a business account on Pinterest, and then we send those to Pinterest, and they'll whitelist them in bulk. It's a little tough since it's kind of in their hands sometimes, and sometimes they don't approve everyone. We don't know why. Right now, they're only whitelisting U.S. sellers. Let's see.
Is Teespring working on a step-by-step training for Pinterest for Advanced University? Yes, we are going to be doing that soon, coming up. We don't know how in-depth it's going to be, as Pinterest isn't really as complex as Facebook when it comes to their ads platform. But we can definitely get something up there for you guys.
Yeah, we're releasing more and more materials for you guys. Some of this content might be similar to what we presented today, but at least you'll have it there as a resource.
And pretty much what you saw today is the nuts and bolts of it all. It doesn't go much deeper than what we showed today. It's pinning the pin, assigning the source URL, then promoting it with a keyword list, changing the destination URL, setting a bid, and you're off to the races.
Yeah. So I asked, can we get an update? Pinterest expanding to Canada and other countries?
We're not sure yet. That's that's something that's in their business roadmap.
I think because their user base is so US, they want to, and this is a limited beta. They're keeping it only American credit cards, but hopefully soon. We'd like to have more international sellers. Let me look at other ones too. Yes, and so to get accepted into the ad program, let me post I post it right now. So I'm posting right now the link. So just sign up there. Unfortunately, they say they're only accepting U.S.-based sellers. Although I've heard anecdotally some other sellers internationally got accepted, so it doesn't hurt. Just put your information in there. Someone asked if we have a version of this for Facebook and Twitter. Well, for Facebook, the best resource I can point you to is for the advanced training on Teespring Universities. So university.teespring.com. And Twitter, yeah, we've done some research there. We still haven't gotten it to the same success rate at Pinterest. We can tip campaigns, but we found Pinterest just works a lot better right now. It converts a lot higher. But we've been talking a lot with Twitter, and we definitely, it's something we're still spending a lot of money testing and time into. So as soon as we feel more comfortable that sellers can actually have success on Twitter, we'll promote it more. But for us, we actually honestly believe Pinterest is a good channel for sellers. Someone asked about Instagram. Yeah, I think Instagram is hard because there's no ads, so it's you can't scale as well. We've found some people who are influencers, so if you already have a big account, you can have success.
Yeah, if you have a large Instagram account, I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of followers here, you can absolutely use Instagram for your t-shirt marketing. However, if you're just getting started out and you have a couple hundred, couple thousand, it's probably I would devote your resources to Pinterest or even back to Facebook. So somebody asked if we recommend switching from a personal to a business account for Pinterest. You're actually going to have to switch to a business account for Pinterest in order to get access to the ads and have your account whitelisted.
I don't know. You might be able to convert it. I'm not sure.
You can absolutely convert it. There's a short tutorial by Pinterest online. If you just go ahead and Google it, we can try to dig up that resource for you. But it's very simple. It's just a point and click thing, and they show you how to do it. And then somebody asks, does it strongly matter that you're advertising your shirts on a board inside your personal Pinterest account, or is it better to make a new account for a single brand? And does it matter? We're not really sure because we don't have metrics either way. However, we would 110% recommend that you have a separate account, and that account takes the face of an up-and-coming brand instead of you. Nothing wrong with you, but Pinterest users are probably going to be much more likely to engage if you're, this up-and-coming, fashion-forward, professional-looking brand who has, multiple boards and multiple niches, etc.
Yeah, it's important that your Pinterest business account isn't just empty. You want to actually have, repinned content that's not just T-shirts, other stuff too, to make it look like you're actually kind of an engaged Pinterest account. Someone asked the most profitable campaign on Pinterest so far. So we don't know, a lot of sellers. So there's been a number of sellers we've seen who are selling a lot, and we don't know their data about stuff, and they've been kind of obviously we want to not expose too much of their personal stats. For us personally, most profitable, I think we had one. For how much? I think I don't know. I know we've had more than one that have made definitely more than 1,000 profit. I don't know. I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head. I think we're spending Teespring's money, so we're a little bit less focused on the exact profit as a normal seller would be. But it's definitely we've had multiple campaigns that have profited over $1,000 each. Cool. Looks like not too many other questions, so I think we're going to wrap it up. But thank you guys for joining. We really think it's an exciting opportunity. I know some people have found some bugginess on Facebook ads recently, so this is kind of a good time to be exploring Pinterest ads. And again, I can't reemphasize enough, like now is the time to do it too, because the platform's so young. As it opens up to more and more marketers, the good niches will kind of get more expensive, more competitive. Now is the time you can get lots of cheap repins and kind of, your repins are never going to go away. So, you can end up with pins that have thousands of repins.
Especially like pins showing up on Google search engine results page too.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's good SEO. If you get something with tens of thousands of repins, it'll show up on
everywhere.
Google.
Yeah.
So we really think it's a really exciting opportunity, and
feel free to reach out if you guys have any other questions. We just kind of went through the ones that were submitted through the webinar, but again, definitely want to thank all of you for being in attendance today. We're really excited to see what you guys can do, because we know that you're the bread and butter at Teespring, and you guys are just going to kill it that much harder than we did. So thanks again, and best of luck, and
good luck pinning.
We'll talk to you soon.
Tip those campaigns.